Hi, my name is Jennifer French, and I'm coming to you from the Yoga Sanctuary in downtown Punta Gorda, Florida. And today we're here in our main studio space. We're here in the studio space to explore ways of developing our mountain pose, or in Sanskrit, we call it Tadasana. So I've got a couple special props for us today. The first one is a tennis ball. If you've got a tennis ball or maybe a golf ball, you might want to pause this video, go find it, and come back and join me. The other props that we have are a strap and a block. So once you've got all of those things set off to the side, I'd like to review some of the parts of the body that we'll be talking about when we talk about our mountain pose or developing our mountain pose. First and foremost, we're going to be talking a lot about the feet. So let's take a look at the sole of our feet. You'll hear teachers refer to the 3 points of your feet, sometimes 4 points. And those points are the very center of your heel, or the inner and outer heel for 4 points, center of heel, mound of big toe, and mound of little toe. So I'll be referencing these 3 points of the sole of your foot today as we move forward. So before we dive into using any of these props, I want to just take a moment to feel the soles of our feet on the ground. So wherever you are, if you're standing, if you're seated, can you place the soles of your feet on the ground in a comfortable way? And then let your hands rest wherever and close your eyes for a moment. Now, as your eyes close, maybe exhale fully a couple of times just to really drop in to your body. And then come to sense those 3 points I just referenced. Sense the very center of your heels. Sense the mound of your big toes and the mound of your little toes. And as you feel those 3 points, the soles of each foot, press down. And see if you can lift up through your spine a little bit. And while this is a seated pose, there's so much that is related to the mountain pose, a standing pose, as we pause to feel our connection to the earth and the lift of the spine. After another breath or two, let's then come to open the eyes. And once your eyes are open, might you draw your right knee in towards your chest and cross your ankle over the left knee. Now, once you do, we want to reach down and take hold of our foot and start to rub the sole of the foot like you're giving yourself the best foot massage ever. You can move your thumbs up and down the sole of your foot from the heel to the mounds of the toes. I invite you to move as much of the foot bones as you can and see just how much movement you've got there. If there's tightness, if there's ease, if you feel like there's a lot of movement, just notice. And after a little bit, let's then take our left hand and slide a finger between each toe. Now, for some of you, that might be a little bit more challenging. And I've been doing this for a while, so it's fairly accessible for me, but it hasn't always been that way. Now, once you've got your fingers between your toes as best as comfortable, let's start to move our toes back and forth, right? Be gentle, don't force. And after a little bit of movement here, start then to create circles with your ankles, or just this one ankle, yeah? We'll get to the other one in a second. After a few circles in one direction, change then your direction. You might have some cricks and cracks along the way. Let's see again how much movement you have. And after a few more rounds in this direction, you'll let go of the action altogether, slide your fingers out, and then bring the sole of your foot to the ground. And let's pause for a moment and sense the difference between each foot and ankle. Sometimes there's almost a rush of air that moves through the joints, a coolness, a tingling. And then we'll certainly come to the second side. So draw now your opposite knee in, cross your ankle over the knee, and let's reach down and give ourselves a foot massage on this side. I'm getting some movement into the joints of the foot. moving up and down the sole of the foot. And after a bit, we'll again bring our fingers between each toe. You might find that you've got more space on one side than the other. And we'll come back and forth, back and forth. Be real gentle. After a little bit, add the rotation of the ankle. Notice if there's more noise on this side or if it's a little quieter. And then change the direction of your rotation. After a few rotations in this direction, we'll then let go of that action altogether, slide your fingers out, and then bring this foot to the ground. And let's pause once again to sense and feel. Great. Now let's look for that golf ball or tennis ball. I've got a tennis ball. At home, I actually use a golf ball, but it's a little bit more intense. So whatever you have, bring it to the ground right in front of you, and then place one foot onto that ball, and let's start to roll. This is another way of massaging the sole of the foot. You might feel pretty good, or as my own teacher sometimes says, you might hit some spicy spots, some pressure points. Notice what you're feeling. And you can put more or less pressure. And after rolling a little bit on this side, let's then scoot that ball over to the other side and do some rolls here. Yeah. And after we finish rolling on the second side, we'll move that ball right off to the side. And then we once again pause. Feel both feet on the ground. Notice what that's like. And then we come to bring our bodies down to the ground. So I'm going to shift off of my chair and I'll move that chair aside. So once you've moved your chair aside, you might even already be on the ground, we're going to come right onto our back. Now we'll move that ball off to the side. We won't be using that for a while, or actually we're done with it now. And now I'll take my block and I'm going to move that off to the side as well. And then as you scooch on down to the ground, you'll come right onto your back. Now, once you're on your back, you certainly do need your strap, so make sure that that's available to you. And let's simply take our arms up and overhead. Give a nice reach through your arms. And then with your exhalation, come to hug your right knee into your chest. Now, once you've caught your right knee, we'll give a good push through our left heel. Push the center of your heel away from you and see if you can pull your toes back. So what I'm hoping that you're feeling is a firmness in this left leg that's on the ground. We'll then take our strap onto the sole of our right foot, right at the toe mounds. And with your next in-breath, reach your right heel up. Now you might get to a place where your leg doesn't want to straighten too much, and that's okay. Move your leg forward a little bit. Push the heel away, draw your toes back, and then pause right there. So we hold the legs firm, as straight as they can comfortably be. And then you might start to pull this lifted leg back towards you. You're certainly going to feel some kind of sensation through the back of the leg, no doubt, right? But do keep the leg firm and active. You'll feel maybe some stretching here, some activity, some effort, not just in this lifted leg, but in the down leg as well. We'll take a few more breaths just as we are. And at the same time, can you feel your hips nice and balanced? So sometimes this hip likes to scooch up, and there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe think about drawing your right hip down and away from your right lower ribs. And when you come to your next exhalation, let's release the effort, hug your knee in, move your strap off to the side. Come to bend this down leg so that foot is on the mat. Feel the foot on your mat. And then with your inhalation, take your arms up, place the sole of your right foot down. Then as you exhale, hug your left knee in. And as we hold the left knee, we'll now straighten our right leg onto the ground. We'll give a good push through that right heel and really feel your right leg firm. Let it be heavy. So as you're pushing through the heel, you're pulling your toes back as well. This is almost like a standing leg. It could be one of our mountain pose legs. And then we'll take our strap onto the mounds of the left toes. And just as we did on the first side, we'll reach up through the heel. And if you find that your knee is bending, that's fine. But you could certainly move the leg forward a little bit, push through the heel, pull back with the toes, and pause there. So your leg could be slightly away from your body. Now, as you get more and more comfortable here, keeping strength in both legs, perhaps now you start to pull your leg a little bit closer in. Keep reaching up through the heel and pause here, noticing what sensations you feel on this side. And can you imagine that both of these legs are standing legs? Your left leg, you're standing on the ceiling. Your right leg, you're standing on the wall in front of you. Take another couple breaths just as we are. And then whenever you happen to exhale next, let's release the effort. Hug your knee in, move your strap off of the foot, put it aside. Now this time, keep your right leg straight, and with your inhalation, let's take our arms overhead and straighten your left leg onto the ground. Now we'll hold just as we are here, but instead of keeping the arms straight, come to hold your elbows. Now if that's a challenge for you, your forearms don't come to the ground, you could rest on your forehead here. Otherwise, simply feel your legs firm, pushing your heels away, drawing the tops of the feet towards you. Maybe even considering this the reclined mountain pose. Of course, our arms are lifted, so that's a little bit different than the more traditional posture. Whenever you come to your next inhale, let's straighten the arms. And as you exhale, lower your arms down. We'll pause for a breath. And then come to soften and relax the effort all together. Now let's bend our knees so your feet are on the mat. You could feel your feet touch the ground. Notice the center of your heels, mound of big toe, mound of little toe. And then come to take one arm overhead. Let's roll over to that side and then press yourself up. We're coming to our hands and knees now. So as you shift your hands and knees, sometimes the knees are sensitive. So if you've got a blanket at home, you could kneel on a blanket. I'm just here on my mat, and I do want to make sure that our block is handy. So make sure that block is all the way at the top of your mat. And then we'll bring our hands to the ground so that your wrists are just about under your shoulders and your hips are just about over your knees. Now, whenever you come to your next inhalation, let's tuck our toes under and at the same time, arch the spine away from the ceiling and look forward. Then as you exhale, point your toes back and round your spine up towards the ceiling. Inhale, tuck the toes under, arch your spine in towards your body, you're looking forward. Exhale, point your toes back and round back up towards the ceiling. Let's do that a few more times together. Moving with your own breath. I'm trying to find some fluidity in the movement. Now, whenever you come to your next inhalation, notice that your toes are tucked under, and as best you can, keep your toes tucked under, and then push your hips back towards your heels. So this will be a strong sensation in the toe knuckles, most definitely, probably the soles of your feet, maybe even your ankles. Staying just as you are, if that feels good, you don't have to change anything. And in fact, if you feel like you're really at your edge, then stay here, don't do anything else. If you're feeling pretty comfortable, you might walk your hands halfway towards your knees and lift your torso up. Could stay here, most definitely. Some of you might even bring your hands to your thighs and come to sit up on the heels. I'm feeling this nice stretch through the soles of your feet and the toe knuckles, the toe joints. Another option here is to take your block and bring your block between your thighs and your heels. We'll take a couple breaths here. It's often referred to as the lightning bolt pose or the Vajrasana. After a few breaths, we'll come forward. If you decided to sit on that block, certainly move it aside. Bring your hands to the ground, untuck your toes, and then bring your hips back to your heels. Belly towards the thighs and reach your arms forward. So we're in the extended child's pose. Don't worry about how far back your hips go, but try to feel heaviness in the hips as you reach through the arms. And now with your next inhalation, come back up to your hands and knees. Let's take that block now and bring it between your thighs. So you'll hold the block pretty firmly. Let's tilt the pelvis forward, arch the spine away from the ceiling, look forward. And then come to tuck your toes under once again, push into your mat and lift your hips up and back. So we're coming into the downward facing dog. You'll notice that my legs are pretty straight here. Your knees could be bent a little bit. Your legs could be straight. As you hold that block, you're pushing the block towards the wall behind you. So you get nice length through your spine and your legs are really firm. We could call these the mountain pose legs here in the downward facing dog. We'll take another breath and then bring your knees back down to the ground. Let's pause here for a moment. And so as you pause, you're still holding your block pretty firmly. We'll take a breath in, and then one more time, exhale, lift your hips up and back, returning to downward facing dog. Now, when you come to your next inhalation, bring your torso forward so your shoulders are over your wrists. This is a plank position. You're holding your block firmly. And as you exhale, lift back into the downward facing dog. Inhale, shoulders over the wrist, plank position. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's do that 3 more times together. Keep holding your block really strongly between your thighs. We don't want to drop it. And as you're moving with your breath, you'll feel here some real strong work in your legs and even in the muscles of your torso. Now, when you next come to your downward facing dog, let's hold there. Take a couple of breaths. And then bring your knees back down to the ground. Let's move that block aside and then uncurl your toes and bring your hips to your heels, your belly to your thighs. Let's take a couple resting breaths here in the extended child's pose. And now with your inhale, one final time, we'll come up to the hands and knees. No block this time. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips. Keep the energy of the legs as though you were holding your block. And then slowly walk your feet forward, letting your knees bend, feeling the mounds of the toes on the ground, and then finally the center of your heels on the ground. Your block could be a nice step up for your hands. So we bring the hands onto the block and we glide our chest forward. Could have your knees bent a little bit, certainly. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, push into all 3 points of both feet, and up we come to stand. Now, as you rise, release your arms down. And as you release your arms down, make sure that you're balanced between your 2 feet evenly. Your arms are alongside you. You could even close your eyes for a moment. Feel the center of your heels pressing into the earth, the mounds of your toes pressing into the earth, the firmness of your legs, and the lift of your spine. Here we are in our mountain pose. Let your palms come together in front of your heart. You can certainly stand here for as long as you like, breathing and feeling your legs firm, your spine lifted, your shoulders relaxed. Here in the Tadasana, the mountain pose. Namaste. And so I hope that you found some of this work helpful in developing your mountain pose, getting strong in your legs, and establishing a good connection to the earth. If you found this video useful and fun, definitely let us know what you enjoyed about it in the comments below. And if there's ways that you work your mountain pose that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear. You can just drop me a note in the comment. Love to hear all about it. Otherwise, just keep updated. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and keep your eyes open for more videos like this to come. Thank you.